Another way of exploring spirits is to look at the visual representation that Vodou artists produce and flag makers produce. So here are two flags that represent the same spirit. You have Legba here, represented on the left-hand side through the Roman Catholic chromolithograph. Right? It's a kind of icon of a Catholic saint. And at the same time, you have a kind of parallel visual representation of the spirits in Vodou that draws from an independent visual tradition that's informed by Haitian traditions and also African traditions. And that you can see on the right. So you have, because of colonialism, you have this kind of overlay that generates many, many doublets in Vodou. And of course, the short story is, of course, that Vodou was illegal until very recently. And of course, it was persecuted heavily during the colonial period and considered a great and grave threat to colonial order. And of course, it was. And so Vodouists took Roman Catholic iconography and camouflaged the spirits in the Catholic visual content. Okay? So this has happened to such a great extent that the Catholic Church has completely lost control of its iconography. And Catholics refuse generally to display it, particularly Catholic priests. Okay? So this kind of doubling exists for all the spirits. So you have really a tremendous number of symbols that are used to represent the spirits. So here you see St. Patrick on the left, and on the right, the spirit who St. Patrick doubles or camouflages, Dambala Wedou, and his lovely wife, Aida Wedou. Okay? So there you see St. Patrick driving the snakes out of Ireland. And of course, it is the serpent figure in the iconography that allowed the early Vodouists to make this connection and to use the saint as their symbol for the serpent spirit, Dambala. So there's very often a little clue in each Catholic icon that connects that saint to the spirit. But knowledge of the saints is very, very limited. The saint really represents the Vodou spirit within the Vodou community. And most Vodouists cannot tell you much about the European tradition of the historical saint. Okay, once again, here you see the actual chromolithograph of St. Patrick on the left and a sort of stylized verre design on the right. Again, here you can see the Roman Catholic representation alongside the Haitian representation. What is interesting about this particular flag is the presence of Vodou symbols within the Roman Catholic icon. So there you can see the asson, which is the sacred rattle. So some of the Roman Catholic saint images in the flags have these kind of Vodou elements that have intruded or sort of merged with the Catholic icon. Here you see on the left, Mater Dolorosa de Monte Calvario, and on the right, Exilifreda. On the left, Saint George, or Saint Jacques in Haitian Creole, and Ogou on the right. The same spirit. Saint Ulrich on the left, Agui, the spirit of the sea on the right. And then Saint Gerard on the left, Gidi on the right. Okay? And we'll talk a little bit more about the qualities of these spirits. Right, so basically the iconography of the Catholic tradition has been thoroughly Vodouized in Haiti. What I'd like to do now is play you a song, about 2 minutes of it, to provide another angle into Vodou culture. So in Vodou, the song is really the most sacred form of literature that exists. So Vodou, unlike, let's say, Judaism, is not generating narratives and stories and histories. It's not a genre that Vodouists have worked with yet, partially because of the oral status of the religion. And so much of the spiritual teachings take the form of songs. And the songs themselves are very interesting because they take a form that does not resemble the form that songs often take in our culture. They tend to be very compact, as you can see. That is the entire song on the left. And they tend to be repeated numerously, so that the trance-like qualities of the singing and the worship is enhanced through this repetition. So let's have a listen here, and give me a chance to fiddle with the computer as we get there. Won't be more than a minute. And this is a song for Dombala Widou. I thought I would play you a song for Dombala at the outset, since he is really one of the most important spirits in the Vodou system. Did you like that? That was the correct answer. Very good. All right, so now let's take a look at what are the ceremonies or the rites that are dedicated to the Vodou spirits, and briefly consider where they come from. So in Vodou, rather remarkably, especially for historians and linguists, there are many national and culture-specific rites in the Asogwe Vodou tradition. So Asogwe is one school of Vodou. It's not exactly the same as comparing it to Protestantism or Catholicism, but it's something like that. It's certainly the most prominent and prestigious school of Vodou, and it is centered around Port-au-Prince and Léogâne, and doesn't really have a lot of influence in the northern parts of Haiti. So Vodou is also heterogeneous. But we're going to look at Asogwe Vodou because it is the most prestigious and influential form, and it also has made a home for itself in the United States. So Miami and New York and Boston, and also Canada and Montreal are very important cities for Vodou, and in particular Asogwe Vodou. So looking at Asogwe, we can see that Vodou's ritual organization is based upon rites. And the name of the rites come from the names of specific nations, ethnic groups, and place names. So we really have a kind of archaeology of pre-colonial and colonial history when we start looking at the details of Vodou's rites. The rites are also called nation, which means nations. So Vodou is literally organized into a series of nations, or rituals that originate from specific places in West and West Central Africa. And Vodou preserves, but also blends this ethnic diversity of its practitioners. So Vodou is very much a storehouse of history that promises to unlock many, many secrets about the origins of the Haitian people. And work is underway in that regard. So let's look at some of those places where the rites come from. They are very often revealed in the very names of the rites. For instance, rite en mine, from the Mina people, who were an ethnic group living in the Dahomian Empire. Of course, the Dahomian Empire was a major source of the early captives who arrived in Saint-Domingue, the former name of Haiti. Bizango is another rite, and there is an island off of Senegal with the same name, Bizango. Rite Bossou is from the name of a Dahomian king. So some of the rites are based on royal traditions that stem from the Dahomian Empire. Rite Bumba. Bumba is a river in Cameroon. Dahomey, of course, Dahomey, which is today Benin and westernmost portion of Nigeria, eastern portion of Togo. Gede is an ethnic group that was taken from the Dahomian kingdom, and the entire group was sold into slavery, the entire ethnic group, and they largely arrived in Haiti. And so the Gede traditions are very robust in Haiti. Of course, Gede is the spirit of life and death, and in November, the entire month is dedicated to that spirit, including Haiti's national holiday, Day of the Dead, 1st of November, 2nd of November. So Vodou also enjoys some national prominence in Haiti and is recognized by the Haitian state in that respect. We also have Igbo. The Igbo people are from southeastern Nigeria. They are still there. I have met Igbo people. Rite Makaya. Makaya is a word that you can find in Kikongo that refers to leaves. And this is a rite in Vodou that is used for healing and recognizes the place of plants in that process. Nago refers to the Yoruba ethnic group. The word Nago is actually a Fon word, so the language of the Dahomian people, that they use to refer to the Yoruba people. Or Rada, the rite that we're going to focus in on in a moment, itself is from the town Alada. So if you think about it linguistically, Alada, Arada, Rada, you can see the gradual progression towards Rada. Or Seneca, from Senegal. So this is just a smattering. We have 21 major rites, and most of them have some clue about the origin of the tradition. So that's very, very helpful for historians and exciting. So where do the captives originate? The French slave trade began here around the Bight of Benin, roughly in the 1680s, and by the 1740s had progressed down the coast the western coast of Africa and progressively went south. And so the slaves are largely drawn from this region in West and West Central Africa. And we can see that directly through the names of the rites. And then when we get into the rites, they are populated by many, many spirits. And so we can also look at the names of spirits to find out where the traditions come from very specifically. And if we have a lot of money, we can fly to West Africa and find the descendants of those traditions alive and well today. All right, and so this is a very brief representation from the Emory University Transatlantic Slave Trade Database, where you can see this, the regions where people were stolen. In the case of the French the French slave trade from this West African region and then down to Central Africa. Ultimately, by the beginning of the Haitian Revolution in 1791, the majority of the captive population was from Central Africa. But the founders were from West Africa, and so the Vodou traditions of West Africa were already very well established and had a certain prominence and prestige. But nevertheless, those traditions readily integrated the Congo and the West Central African traditions into Vodou in a gradual layering process that ultimately yielded Asogwe Vodou, which is an umbrella that includes the national traditions of many, many ethnic groups. So Vodou is a remarkable syncretism, but it's not a syncretism that we sort of are familiar with in the traditional discussion of Vodou, which is one where we talk about Catholic syncretism with African traditions. That exists, but it's, I would say, peripheral. The real syncretism is the combination of many different African traditions into one coherent system. That's the real syncretism that takes place in Vodou. So within Vodou ceremonies, what are the cycles of salutation and what are the stations of each cycle? And in just a minute, I'm going to show you a 5-minute video clip that will illustrate this, because it'll sound a little bit strange and abstract before you see it, but when you see it, I think it'll come together. So again, we know this, we've already said this, we'll just skip this slide.